This is Edward Douglas from comingsoon.net. I'm here with an actor who I've actually spoken to many times over the years, going back to his days as Prince Caspian in the Chronicles of Narnia movies. It's Ben Barnes, with
Hey,
shorter hair than last time we
how
saw
are
him.
you?
So he's in a movie called The Words, which is the first movie by Brian Klugman and Lee Sterndahl, who are actually wrote Tron Legacy, and it's such a
Yeah,
different
they
movie.
wrote an early draft of it, I think.
Yeah, it's such a different movie for them, and it's quite. It's an interesting movie, and I can't say much about it, but basically, Bradley Cooper plays an author who finds a manuscript, and he basically decides to make it his own, and it's a huge hit, and he becomes famous because of this manuscript.
Yeah,
And
it's plagiarism.
exactly plagiarism, and then your character. I don't know how to describe it without spoiling it. Basically. You're in a flashback. You're sort of like the basis. I guess you're the basis for the
Well,
story.
somebody accuses Bradley's character, Rory, of stealing the story, and then tries to explain to him where the story actually came from. And it turns out that it came from me, and my experience is, you know, 60 years earlier.
No, all right.
50 years earlier, in France, just post the Second World War, and some traumas that I go through. I don't want to give too much of it away, but they're spawned. The story is spawned from these traumas that I go through, and I give birth to this story essentially, and then the story gets lost in time, and Bradley's character eventually finds the manuscript and becomes successful off of it, and then the movie continues to kind of pull out and change perspectives, and you're never quite sure what's real or who is real, and there's a lot of ambiguity, especially moral ambiguity about the choices we make. All the characters are virtuous in some way, and they're also, all of the characters make mistakes. It's what's so interesting, that all the characters are so flawed and they all make mistakes in the movie, and I think it's a movie that we finished, and then we have to give over to the audience to judge,
right.
And to judge the characters and to judge their literally to morally judge them rather than assess them. And to see who they empathise with and why, and if they think there should be redemption for some characters or comeuppance for other characters. And sometimes in life, that just isn't the case. So it asks a lot of questions. I mean, when I first saw the title, I thought that's pretty bold. It's quite a grand title. The Words, not some words, the words.
The words, right.
And I thought, partly ironic because my character doesn't speak very much.
That's another thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, because
that was one of the reasons, one of the challenges for me was how to convey so much emotion, because actually he goes through probably the hardest thing that any of the characters goes through, and yet he has to convey this with very few words. And a lot of the stuff that Nora, who plays Celia, and I had to go through, we improvised a lot of our scenes because this dialogue was so sparse. And some of it would be voiced over, so we had to look as if we were talking, obviously. So we really had to kind of feel it and believe it, and give ourselves over to this story. So I actually, as a filming experience, it's probably the most real of my career so far. I very much felt like it was something I was living through rather than something I was acting in.
What's interesting, because you really are kind of a separate story from all the other ones, and you and Nora are kind of.
Well, in a way I am, and in a way they're utterly connected.
Yeah, but you don't meet, never really Bradley Cooper, you never meet Jeremy. You never it's really the two of you, almost the whole movie, yeah.
So
what's that like? I mean,
it was almost like a short film in itself, but then you realise how it connects to everything else. It kind of predates everything else.
Right.
So it was kind of its own little film, which was extraordinary. It felt like I went and shot a whole film in less than 2 weeks.
Was it actually shot in Paris? Was it actually shot live
No,
there?
we shot in Montreal.
Montreal, okay,
Which was, the perfect substitute for everything. They shot the whole movie in Montreal.
Oh, wow, okay, interesting. And so, but did you ever meet Bradley or Dennis or any of the other characters?
I did not meet Bradley. I met Dennis, passing ships in the night. He started the day after I finished, so I met Dennis and Olivia the night before I left. And I was lucky enough to meet Bradley at Comic-Con. We were both announcing some other movies we were doing. And then I just met Zoe today for the first time. So it's little fits and spurts. They've teased me with meeting everyone gradually over time. They've drip-fed me.
What are Brian and Lee like as directors? Because obviously we know more as writers as their first movie as directors. It's
Well,
really
they were absolutely born to do this type of work. I think it's such an original script, and they really it's a really personal project for them, as you say, very different to some of the stuff they've written, just for other people.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because this was their baby. They've been working on it for many years, and their dynamic's very interesting. I mean, Lee sort of steps back more and watches from the monitors and sees how the makeup of the scenes, and then he confers with Brian, and Brian is the segue between video village, as we call it.
Okay.
The screens are set back and what's being recorded. He's the segue between that and the actors, so he's the one who's kind of communicating with us his thoughts, because Brian has done a lot more acting himself, and so he knows what that's like. He's actually in the movie briefly too.
Oh, okay.
Plays a friend of Bradley, so he really knows what it's like, and they were absolutely supposed to be doing this kind of work. It's just absolutely. I just thought the script asked so many questions of me when I read it. I thought, this is too interesting not to be involved with.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. This is your first experience at Sundance.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you pretty much probably just got here, so you haven't really.
Yeah, I just got here. I haven't had time to do much. I've had dinner and slept. That's it.
What do you think of the environment? I mean, have you ever been this much
all the
snow?
festivals I've done, I always kind of come, and it feels very self-obsessed. You kind of come, talk about your movie, watch your own movie, talk about your own movie some more, have a few drinks and go home. And I never get a chance to see anything else. So this time I'm determined to see something else, or just get out there. And
well, if you're here till Sunday, you'll get all the award. You'll get tickets for the award winners.
I'm on Saturday. I don't know when the awards are.
Oh, well, the awards are Saturday night, but then they show all the award winners on Sunday. So.
Oh, I see.
Right.
But I don't think we're in competition. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, to see other movies.
Yeah.
And what else do you have coming up? Do you have anything else you're shooting right away after this? Or?
I'm going to Vancouver after this to shoot The Seventh Son with Jeff Bridges.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Oh, that's great.
Julianne Moore. Yeah.
And how's it been going preparing for that? Have you been doing anything special?
Yeah, I've been doing some training in the gym and stuff, trying to get myself in shape for it, because some of it's gonna be quite physical. Just talking with the director about the script. I've been reading the series of books on which it's very loosely based. The books are great. Yeah. The books are great, but they're not really based on the stories of the books. They're based on the idea of the books.
Who's directing it?
Sergei Bodrov. He directed
of course,
a beautiful film called Mongol.
Mongol, yeah, of course.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So and the artwork is like nothing I've ever seen, and the legendary studio are very, very excited about how it's going to look.
Oh, great.
Everything, and obviously Jeff Bridges is the dude, so I just get to work with the dude, which is a dream.
Great. Listen, Ben, it's great. Thank you
too.
so much.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you again.